A lot of men think they're on their path. They've got goals. They're hustling and they're grinding. They're going for it. But deep down inside, somewhere in here, something feels off. It's like they're chasing somebody else's vision. That's not purpose. That's performance, or that's lack of alignment. And you're going to burn yourself out doing this. I know, because I did it. So we're going to dive deep into that today. But before we get started, if you stay to the end, I'm going to give you one simple technique or a principle that will help you to dive deeper in this area and actually find your purpose, your mission. And when you do that, you're free from chasing ever again. So if this connects with you today, or any of my other videos have connected with you, I want to invite you to hit that like button, to hit the subscribe button, and to share the video. Now let's get started. So in this section, we're going to look at 3 indicators that you're off on your mission, that something's not right. You might be driven, you might be hustling, you might be getting up every day, but notice if one of these 3 or all of these 3 are going on. Number 1, you wake up driven, but there's an emptiness going on, or an anxiety. It's like hustle, 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 I have to go. For me, it was like getting up in the morning and I need to get that cup of coffee in me. It was almost like there was a resistance to getting started. But once I got started, I was back in the grind. And one day I woke up to the fact that that just wasn't working. Long term, that was going to burn me out. So that's number 1. Do you wake up in the morning grinding, hustling, ready to go, a little reactive, but feeling empty inside? Number 2, are you doing all the right things? Technically perfect, everything's on point, but you still feel empty? That's a huge one. And that's a big indicator that something is off deep down inside, something that needs to be looked at a deeper level. Number 3, are you chasing something, but something feels off? Do you feel like you're more performing for the world rather than being aligned with the world? And I want you to think about it in those 2 different ways, performance versus alignment. You see, letting go begins where proving ends. When you stop trying to prove you're good enough, when you stop living other people's lives, we're going to get into that more later. That's kind of a clue. You're going to begin to really figure out what you're about, what's going on inside of you. This is something I personally had to go through. And making this transition was huge for me. So at this point, if you're still watching, that could be a good indicator that you're done with empty wins. You're ready for a big change. Something big is calling you in your life. And I want you to think of the rest of this video as a possible message for that. With that said, let's go deeper now. Let's take a look at the myth of finding your purpose. See, you don't find your purpose, you remember it. It reveals itself to you. And I want you to think about this. Most of us are going around chasing the need for security, chasing the want for love, chasing the want for validation, or chasing the want for control or power. And I was definitely doing probably a combination of all of those. And when you get past all of that, when you start to take a deeper look at who you are and you do the letting go process and you begin to remember who you really are, everything begins to change. Now, what do I mean by remembering who you are? Well, as you let go of those core, you could say wants, for lack of a better term, and you get in touch with your deeper purpose in life, which is something that I personally believe, if you know my channel at all and you know me, that you were born with. Even before you're born, there's a part of you that almost decides that you're here for a mission. There's a mission inside of you. That's the best way to put it. And that mission wants to come out of you. And if you want to wake up ready to seize the day, if you want to wake up filled with energy, discovering that mission is essential. That's when your life really begins to take off. And that's what I love to help people do. And on a side note, when a man finds his mission, he becomes powerfully attractive, not just in business. More people show up and want to help you build your business, but in relationships, your partner, your girlfriend, your wife, or if you're dating, women find you way more attractive. It is one of the most powerful attractors there is, a man that is truly on a purpose greater than himself and greater than the woman in his life, greater than the people in his life or any one individual. But as a whole, that mission serves some greater purpose. That's what people are looking for out of you. That's what people, the most attractive people in the world, are radiating. So if you've ever felt like you're building somebody else's dream, you're going to want to hear this next part. We're going to dive in even deeper now. So what does real purpose feel like? Well, to start, it's more quiet. It's more stable inside. It feels like real direction. There's something inside of you that's pointing in a direction. You may not even know why, but you need to go in that direction. And this is where the energy comes from. When that part of you gets in touch with your mission, there's an alignment that's created, gets created. It's kind of like a wave rising for a surfer to ride. And when that wave rides and you catch that wave and you let it propel you, there's a feeling of being pulled along, or the wave is pushing you along naturally and you're riding that wave. This is where so many businessmen, artists, people on their mission, living their dream, athletes that are doing the thing they're meant to do, experience something we call flow or flow state. I believe at the deepest level, it's not flow state, it's just flow. It's the natural flow of energy through your body. I believe at the surface level, when you first start doing it, you still have a lot of ego in the way or imposter syndrome in the way. It's more like a flow state. But with time, you begin to surrender deeper and deeper. And this starts to become more of a part of you. And that's what propels you. There's also a grounded knowing. You naturally start grounding more. And there's a sense you know what to do next. And you're also unfazed by what other people think of you. See, a lot of people are very concerned about what others think. They're image conscious. When they're building their business, when they're dating, they're very much worried about what others think. But when you're on your mission, when this is something that's born inside of you, there's this part of you, when you get in touch with it, when you get in resonance with it, that stops giving a damn what other people think. This is something that wants to be born out of you. You're going to do it no matter what. That's when you really start to understand the power of being in alignment. So I want to ask you, have you ever felt this calm certainty before? It could be in sports, it could be in art, maybe it was in something simple you were doing. There was probably a little nook or a cranny in there leading in the direction of your purpose. Possibly, possibly not, but most likely if it's a true flow, not just a flow state where you state pumped yourself into it, it's going to be leading you in the direction of where you're really meant to go. Next, I want to look at 3 signs that you're aligned with flow or that you're becoming aligned with flow. But before I do, I want to remind you, if you've watched my last 2 videos, we got an amazing event coming up. It's our Croatia event. It's going to be a cruise on a yacht where we work on energetic embodiment. We start to develop the energetics of somebody that's powerfully successful in life, a natural attractor for success. This could be the very event that helps you to get in touch with your purpose or your mission, because you get more energetically embodied. This goes beyond embodiment. You actually start to develop, you start to naturally get in touch with that purpose. Now, not only are we going to be on a cruise, learning every day together in Croatia, visiting different islands, but every day we're going to get up and we're going to bond. We're going to be going out onto the island, exploring. You're going to get to go visit different beaches. You're going to get to paddle board, snorkel, possibly wakeboard. There's going to be all kinds of stuff for you to do. We're also going to have a sauna, a jacuzzi. And what gave me the idea for this was an event I just did in Egypt where I did some kiteboarding. That event was so spectacular and people bonded so tight, because when you spend 5 days together on a boat, on a yacht, having all these amazing experiences, something magical happens. And if we spend the afternoons diving deeper into energetic embodiment and letting go, revealing process principles, it's going to get that much deeper, that much more bonded. You're going to really take this stuff home at a powerful level. And the energy of the environment is going to be a huge part of that too. So if you're ready to go have some fun in the sun and really raise your consciousness and possibly even find your mission or your purpose, then check out the link in the description. And let's get started. Let's get back to those 3 signs that you're already aligned or you're becoming aligned. The first one, as I said this earlier, is that you're not comparing yourself anymore to other people. Your mission is so important to you that something that's being birthed through you, it's channeling through you, so much so that you could give a damn what other people think. There's a part of you that really begins to realize that being on your mission is not only powerful, but it has a destructive power when you stick with it, a destructive power on your ego, your imposter syndrome, the parts of you that don't believe in yourself. It starts to break it down. And I'm going to have a little bit more on that later. And then as that breaks down, you care less and less what other people think of you. And that's powerful when you think about it. Number two. Number 2 is you're forcing outcomes less and less. And as you get more and more into flow and alignment, you're not going to be forcing outcomes at all. You're going to be propelled towards outcomes. They're going to be a natural part of who you are. You're going to almost expect the outcomes and they're going to show up. You're going to feel them building around you. Something we call developing potentiality. As you develop potentiality, the potential for this to come into being through all your actions, through all your inspired actions, the reality can't help but come into being. It's part of your mission. You're born to bring it out. Number 3, you start to feel pulled versus pushed. There's not a part of you that's forcing your way into it or being pushed into it. You're being pulled into it, or you're being lifted and carried. There's an energy or a force that's moving you towards this that feels symbiotic. It feels like, again, something is being born through you. And that's what leads to the flow states. As you surrender more and more of the ego, the imposter syndrome, that's the energy that starts to carry through you into these flow states and ultimately flow itself beyond the state. And there's one more thing that I think is very important. If you are looking at a specific area of your life and you have immense resistance, that could be a clue. And the reason that is because there's a part of us deep down inside, when we go to move in the direction of our purpose, our mission, but we have a huge imposter syndrome or self-esteem issue like I did, pain can come up. Because when you fail or get rejected by the thing that means the most to you, it really can hurt. It really can hurt bad if you've got a sensitive self-esteem or ego around that area, for lack of a better term. This is what I had. I was always propelled into personal growth, teaching, helping others. I was doing it all the time for free. I was reading books constantly, but I always said, I don't want to practice in that area. I don't want to practice in that area. And some of you know my story in this area. When I became a hypnotist, it was something that happened to me. And I talk about that in some of my other videos, so I'm not going to go through that today. But I ended up forced into the job because I needed money. That's the short of it. And when I did that job, it was immense emotional pain for the first 2 weeks. I hated it more than any job I've ever had. I was gut sick. That was a huge clue. I was probably on track. And my self-esteem and my imposter syndrome were really strong, because 2 weeks later, it died. And when it died, it was the first time I ever experienced going to work, loving what I was doing. Matter of fact, I couldn't wait to show up the next day. It was a whole new reality for me. When that thing died in me, something else was born in me and my mission began. And that's when the flows started to happen. It was absolutely incredible. And I wouldn't change it for the world. Matter of fact, it's the reason I'm standing in front of this camera today. Now, with that said, if one of these resonates with you, you're probably much closer than you realize. And I'd love to hear in the comments if any of these stood out for you. I'd love to hear where that area is for you, or where that area you're playing with, or what are 2 or 3 areas. You never know what it could be like. Well, what I'm going to say is that if you stay tuned, we're going to go deeper into how to figure it out. So just kind of put something in the comments that you think might be close, and then we'll deepen this process in a bit. So with all this said, I want you to realize that purpose, like I said in the beginning, is not something you find in the sense of like, I'm going to go find my purpose. It's something that you realize. It's something that you remember. It's something that's birthed out of you through surrender, through forgiveness, through releasing, through letting go. It's through the removal of the layers of the deepest core self that this thing is burst out of you. As the self-esteem issues go away, as the imposter syndrome goes away, it comes out of you naturally. You can't not do it. One of my favorites in this area is Gary Vaynerchuk. If you look at Gary and look at how driven he is to help others find their purpose, look how driven he is to motivate people, to excite people. Yes, he has a big marketing company and he loves marketing with a passion. But what he really loves to do is be on camera motivating people, telling them they're awesome, telling them they can do it, getting in their face and challenging them with power if they doubt themselves. He gets right in their face and tells them, cusses, does all kinds of stuff. But he does it with love. And that's part of his gift. That's what he's here to give to the world. I help people also make that transition. That's what I love to do, up to the top of the emotional scale, to belief. I do it in a different way. I do less of this broad work that Gary does, talking to everybody. And I work with individuals going really deep to shift their subconscious mind so they can rise up in vibration to the top of the emotional scale to shift this part of their reality. We all have a gift to give. We all have something inside of us that wants to be born out. It has subtle aspects to it. And the more you do this work, the more you're going to realize the gift you're here to give to the world. Not my gift. No, don't copy me. Don't copy Gary. Figure out what your gift is to the world, right? That's when magic will start to happen. So, remember in the beginning when I said I was going to give you something you could do to help bring this part out? That's this part right here. I want you to get a journal, get a piece of paper, whatever you got, and I want you to every day this week write down something simple. I want you to write down what's pulling you. That's the words. What is pulling on me, or what is lifting me? That's another way to put it. And I want you to write the smallest thing. Like, I'm pulled to, for me, I was pulled to mindset work. I was pulled to learning to be a hypnotist. I was pulled to going to the bookstore constantly and going straight to the personal growth section, sometimes the spirituality section, and just perusing books, reading the books. I was constantly studying how the mind worked and what the mind does. I couldn't stop doing it to save my life. I wouldn't tell people all the time. I told people I would never work in that profession, but I was constantly being pulled that direction. What pulls you all the time? And I want you to write down the littlest thing. I want you to even entertain your secret thoughts, the thoughts you don't tell anybody, because that's where the clues are. I also want you to entertain the very thing you say, I would never do that for a living. And just keep writing them down every day, uncensored, for the next week. And then I want you to write in the comment section at the end of the week. You can write right now if you want about what you think that thing is. And at the end of the week, I want you to write how it evolved, how it grew. I'm going to be reading those comments, especially the first couple of days when this video comes out. And then I'm going to work with this one. I want to come back and see what you wrote in a week and see how much this helped you to grow. So with that said, I want to invite you to, again, like, subscribe, and share, do all that stuff. You're already going to comment, so that's great. And I love you guys. You guys are awesome. And remember, only the courageous really live. See you in the next video.